Tough questions.
Welcome to our segment where we are talking about tough questions that people ask about the Bible or religion. And today we want to talk about why we don't worship on the Sabbath. And is the Sabbath still required for Christians? Now, I want you to understand that as Christians, we believe that if the Bible tells us to do something, we do it. However, there are things that the Bible has told us to do in parts of it in the beginning and then changes what it tells us to do as you read the Bible later on. So I want you to understand that concept. The Old Testament is treating us Christians as children. And the New Testament treats us like adults. Okay? So I want you to get that concept. In the Old Testament, the Bible said, if you kill somebody physically, it's a sin. In the New Testament, it says if you have hatred for somebody, it's murder and it's a sin. And so in the Old Testament, we're treated like children. When I was a kid, I was not allowed to cross the street. My mom and dad said, you do not cross that street. And so I did. Then there came a point where the rule was, you can only cross the street if we're looking out the front door watching you. Now, did that mean what they told me the first time was wrong? No, they're treating me more mature. And then there came a point, I think I was 22, my mom says, you can cross the street anytime. Right? So I was treated as an older person down the road. And so that's like the Bible. There are times the Bible tells us things, and then as you read further along, it tells us something different. It says, okay, well, you don't have to do that now. It's no longer required, or it's actually stricter. Some rules in the Old Testament we don't have to do. The Bible tells us in the New Testament, here's a reason why. And then there are some rules that are actually stricter in the New Testament, like I mentioned already, about you thinking about hatred towards somebody, that's considered murder. And so you're not supposed to hate other people, right? So I want you to understand how the Bible, when we read it through, and we have a lot of new believers that come to Crosswaves, and they might have never understood that concept before. So here is a passage of Scripture. This is the Ten Commandments, part of the Ten Commandments, and it says this. Remember to observe the Sabbath day by keeping it holy. I just want you to understand that the Sabbath is Friday basically at sunset to Saturday an hour after sunset. Friday through Saturday. So most of the Sabbath is on what day? Saturday. Okay? So you have 6 days each week to do your ordinary work, but the seventh day is a Sabbath day or a day of rest dedicated to the Lord your God. On that day, no one in your household may do any work. This includes your sons and daughters. Now, when they say do any work, later the Jews came and defined that. For instance, an Orthodox Jew has to live so close to the temple because on Saturday they walk to the temple and they can only walk so far. All right? And so they have rules on what it means to work. Now, here it just says you don't work, but the Jews later on in their history define what that means. All right? Your male and female servants, your livestock, and any foreigners living among you. For in 6 days the Lord made the heavens, the earth, the sea, and everything in them. But on the seventh day he rested. That is why the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and set it apart as holy. And so this is one of the Ten Commandments. And so right now, basically, no Protestants follow this commandment today except Seventh-day Adventists. So if you're driving down a road and you see a church that says Seventh-day Adventists, they go to church on Saturday. Basically, all other Protestants go to church on Sunday, and most of our Crosswaves groups go to church during the week. They don't even go to church on Sunday, even though we do have some that go on Sunday. So So I just want you to understand that most Protestants don't follow this. So what's the deal? The Bible tells us that we're not to work on the Sabbath, which is Saturday, and that's when the Jews to this day go to the temple and they go and they pray. And so why do we not follow this? First of all, this commandment was given to the nation of Israel after they left Egypt. It wasn't given to Abraham. It wasn't given to Noah. It was given to Moses after they left Egypt as a covenant sign. And so I want you to understand these covenant signs. Covenant signs is when God gave the people something that shows that they are His people. Okay? And so by not working on Saturday, you were saying to all the other nations, you were saying to all your neighbors, I am a Jewish person who follows after Yahweh or Jehovah or, the God of the Old Testament. I want you to look at a passage in Exodus 31:12. And it says, the Lord then gave these instructions to Moses, tell the people of Israel, be careful to keep my Sabbath day, for the Sabbath is a sign of the covenant between me and you from generation to generation. It was given to you so you may know that I am the Lord who makes you holy. You must keep the Sabbath day, for it is a holy day for you. Anyone who desecrates it must be put to death. Now that's how serious this was. You had to follow this or you could be put to death. Anyone who works on that day will be cut off from the community. You have 6 days each week for your ordinary work, but the seventh day must be a Sabbath day of complete rest, a holy day. All right? Now, I'm going to skip forward to verse 16, and it says, the people of Israel must keep the Sabbath day by observing it from generation to generation. This is a covenant obligation for all time. Now, this is for the Jews. It is a permanent sign of my covenant with the people of Israel. I want you to get that. For the people of Israel, for in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, but on the seventh day He stopped working, and that's when He rested, okay? And so, look at that last verse, verse 17. It's a permanent sign of my covenant with the people of Israel. This is not a covenant sign for us because we are not Israel, okay? So I want you to understand that. So before Israel left for Egypt, before they were slaves in Egypt, there were other covenants. Remember the covenant that God gave Noah? It was a rainbow. And every time you see a rainbow, you can remember the covenant that God gave to Noah and how He took care of them. There was the Abrahamic covenant, which was circumcision. So in Genesis 17, the Bible tells us that He told Abraham to circumcise all the people in his family and everything, and that was now a sign for that group of people. And so you see, as time goes on, God gave a covenant sign to them. And so, as I said, there were consequences to breaking the Sabbath. It was very serious. However, we are not Israel. And so you just got to remember why God gave it to Israel. And it was because they were freed from bondage. Now, we in the New Testament, people say, are there verses in the New Testament that tell us we don't have to follow the Sabbath? And there are, all right? And so Colossians chapter 2, verses 16 through 17 says, so don't let anyone condemn you what you eat or drink or for not celebrating, I want you to get this, celebrating certain holy days. The Sabbath would be a holy day. And so don't let anybody give you a hard time about this. Or new moon ceremonies or Sabbaths. It even mentions Sabbaths. For these rules are only shadows of the reality yet to come, and Christ Himself is that reality. So here we have a verse that says, don't let anybody give you a hard time about what are your holy days or the Sabbath. So don't even mess around with that, all right? And so Paul is lumping the Sabbath together with food laws or festivals like the Passover, all right? We celebrate Easter and we talk about the Passover, but we don't celebrate Passover because of why? We're not from Israel, okay? And so Paul is making it very clear here. Don't let anybody give you a hard time about when you really go to church. Here's another passage in Romans 14, verse 5, and it says, in the same way, some think one day is more holy than another day, while others think that every day is alike. You should be each fully convinced that whichever day you choose is acceptable. So if you want to go to church on Tuesday, go to church on Tuesday. Now, why is that important? Well, in our culture, don't we have a lot of people that work on Sunday? Don't we have a lot of nurses, doctors, people that have to work, paramedics? Now there's a lot of people that choose to work on Sunday, but there's other people that have to work on Sunday. And so they need to be able to go to church on other days, and it's okay. The Bible makes it very clear that it's acceptable for us to do that. And so there are two passages there that tell us we don't need to follow the Sabbath. And so why do we meet on Sunday, most Christians? It's primarily because that's the day Jesus arose. Sunday is when Jesus came out of the grave. And then therefore, when he came out of the grave on Sunday, the early church started saying, well, we kind of want to distinguish ourselves from the Jews. And they go to church on Sabbath, or the temple on Sabbath. We'll go to church on Sunday. And so that's why they did that. Now I want to tell you one other thing that I find is remarkable. Jesus followed the Sabbath when he was walking on this earth. He got everybody mad because he would heal on the Sabbath. And one of the things that Jesus taught was the Sabbath was made for us, not us for the Sabbath. And the Jews had made the rule so strict on the Sabbath that the Sabbath became a laborious day, a day that you had to constantly remember all these rules. It wasn't a day of rest and a day that you enjoyed. And so Jesus was reminding them that. Now, after the crucifixion, all of the 10 commandments are mentioned at least 4 times in the New Testament, all except one. You know what commandment is never mentioned after the crucifixion? Remembering the Sabbath. Now, if Paul would have said to us, we need to still remember the Sabbath, what would we be doing? We would be doing something today, not going to church. We would be going to church on the Sabbath because the Bible would still be telling us to follow that. And yet, 9 of the 10 commandments, we are told at least 4 times, some of them more, but 4 times or more that we need to still follow these. Like not having idols, not committing adultery, not stealing. Those are mentioned at least 4 times or more in the rest of the New Testament, except remembering the Sabbath. I find that fascinating. So the answer is we can go to church anytime we choose. Now what happens is, and here's what happens, is we become like the Jews. And we have to go to church, most people think, at 11 o'clock on Sunday. And if you don't go to church at 11 o'clock on Sunday, you're doing something wrong. Now we've already broken that. We go at 10. So if you're watching this at a video across the country and you want to come to the Studio Connection, we start at 10 o'clock. All right? And so when we started Crosswaves, we had a lot of people upset at us because they thought we were going to church when it was convenient. And the question is where does it say you got to go to church at 11 o'clock? I've already read to you 2 verses that says that you don't. You go to church as Jesus said to the Jews, the Sabbath was made for you. You weren't made for the Sabbath. It's made for you to enjoy. And so we go to church when we can enjoy it and when we are able to. And so if anybody ever asks you, why don't you go to church on the Sabbath? Why don't you follow that 10 commandment, or that one commandment, but you follow the other 9? It's because it was a covenant sign for Israel. And we have verses that tell us in the New Testament that we're treated like adults and we go to church when it's appropriate for us. And the other 9 are mentioned 4 times or more in the New Testament, except remember the Sabbath. So I hope you stay tuned to future Tough Question segments where we explore topics from the Bible.
Tough questions.